Thursday Fenway Rundown Podcast. I'm Chris Cotillo here with Sean McAdam. We did a pod 2 days ago, and it was all about Roman Anthony. Since then, the Red Sox have won two pretty good games against the Tampa Bay Rays. They are off on this Thursday, like they are off on most Thursdays. So we will probably keep it pretty brief today, but want to get into the last couple days and what the weekend will bring with the New York Yankees coming to town. I think Sean, basically from watching this team all year long. The last 2 days were, in my mind, two of the more complete wins of the season. The Roman Anthony double was the headliner on Tuesday. The two homers from Marcelo Mayer, the headliner on Wednesday. But I've been obsessed with who's going to step up as the number two starter behind Garrett Crochet for weeks, if not months. And I think there was some encouragement from Giolito on Tuesday, Buehler last night, and I think that's the story. Other if you take away the rookies, which are obviously a story and are going to be all year, Giolito and Buehler are a huge key to this team being good.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. And both of them turned in good starts at a time when, the pressure was on because, as Lucas Giolito correctly said the other night, it can't be Crochet and everyone else. There's got to be more from the rotation. They've got to eat innings. They can't be into the bullpen in the third, fourth, or fifth inning the way they have been so often in the last month. And I would add another encouraging aspect, however small the sample size the last two nights. They played relatively clean baseball the
Yep.
last two. Certainly last night, meaning Wednesday night, I think there was an error on Tuesday. Can't remember the
It's
circumstances.
the pit. It's the pitch. They did not do PFPs at any
Oh, right.
point.
Another errant pickoff throw or throw to the one of the
Yeah.
bases. But in general, they were not tripping over themselves the way they have too often. So I would elevate that, excuse excuse me, to number two on the list of reasons to be cheerful over the last two nights. Starting pitching from the veterans, number one, yes, but also cleaner games.
Yep. And also when you're getting, those big offensive contributions, Roman Anthony only has the one hit, but it came in a big spot in the first inning against Pepio. And then last night, Marcelo Mayer with two homers. There's power that's come. I think it's 12 homers in the last 6 games after all the homers in New York. That tends to happen at that ballpark. I think, we talked about the inability to get any momentum on their side to win the last two series, to win 4 of 6 against two good teams. I think, the Rays aren't world beaters, but they're not bad. And they're always tough, and they always play the Red Sox tough. They head into this off day, feeling better than, probably they have in a month. It's a mini spurt. It's something. We'll see on Friday night if they can carry that momentum, but it's a little something for now.
Yeah, it is a little something, and it is certainly pointing them in the right direction. But the key is to keep going. When you're under 500, you've got to make up the ground, and you've got to consistently win series. That's two out of three, two out of three, two out of three, over and over again, until you get above sea level there. And it does not get any easier once the Yankees leave town because they leave for one of their longest trips of the year, if not the longest. Three
It
trips,
is the
three,
longest.
three cities, 9 games, all with teams that are, either in the playoff race or not far out of it. The Mariners are a game or so under 500, but a lot of talent and still in it in the West. The Angels are somehow second in that division, and the Giants are, though they have two tough teams, San Francisco and LA, in front of them. They have a winning record too. So it's not going to be easy in terms of travel, and it's not going to be easy in terms of quality opponent. But they've got to, at minimum, come home with a winning record from that 9 game trip. They've got to figure out a way to go at least 5-4 in those 9 games and not lose any ground or sink any further back under 500.
I want to point something out. This week has obviously been Anthony Mania, Roman Mania. We had the debut on Monday, everything that came with it, the game on Tuesday with the family, and there's an excitement about his at bats. He is the guy everybody's excited about. Um, but when you look at it now, and obviously a two home run game inflates the numbers, I think people have, not forgotten, but the Marcelo Mayer has almost an old news element to him, 3 weeks into his big league career. Um, you know, we talked about it last night post game with Cora and Meyer himself. the offense was, up and down, some doubles, whatever, last couple weeks. Couple home runs. Now his OPS is in the 850 range now that he's homered 3 times in the last 5 or 6 games. But I think most impressively is the calming force at third base. This isn't a small, I mean, it is a small sample size. It's not tiny now. 13, 14, 15 games over there. And you pay attention closer to this than I do. And you've seen, more bad defense at different positions than I have, obviously. He's very comfortable. The clock is in sync. He's a guy that, you feel like he's going to make every play. It's been pretty good over there. And for that not being his natural position, I think it's not something that jumps off the page, but deserves talking about for sure.
Yeah, he deserves a ton of credit because it is not his natural position. He's a good enough athlete that he has played both second and third in the minor leagues, though not a ton. He is a shortstop by trade. That's his natural position. But obviously, they're giving more of a leash here to Trevor Story, who has looked far better in the last 10 days.
Hmm.
So maybe there's some hope there. But it's obvious that they're not ready to give up on Trevor Story. And whenever Alex Bregman comes back, be that a couple of weeks or a month or however long it's going to be, I think they want Mayer in the everyday lineup. It could be at second base, and it could be at the expense of Christian Campbell. I don't think they're going to try him at first. They tried that with Campbell. It put more on his plate. They never even got
No,
there.
Cora actually talked about that last night, and he said he's never played first base, but I think we could put him over there in a heartbeat, which is kind of interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think he's talking in the context of, you've got one guy left on the bench and you're moving
right.
guys around the infield. You feel okay with him over there for a couple of innings. He took a sacrifice throw the other day, had his footwork all set. I don't think he's going to be stumbling over himself there, but I don't know that you want him on an everyday basis. And they've said, although they can change their mind, they have several times, they've said that that's really not on the table to have him play much at all over there. So wherever Mayer ends up upon Bregman's return and maybe upon Abreu's return, he's earning a longer look and more playing time wherever they can fit him in. And good for him for, as you said, being able to handle the position that he hasn't played a whole lot in the minor leagues. I think he's naturally under control. He doesn't press. His instincts are good. As you said, the internal clock works. He knows how much time he has to make throws. He has good reaction time. So he can do just about anything they ask. And the fact that he's doing that while trying to figure out major league pitching for the first time is a credit to him.
Yep. There is an obsession. It's not just a storyline, it's now an obsession with these guys playing against left-handed starters. Of course, with a big series in the Yankees coming, the Red Sox will see three, I believe, in some order: Rodon, Yarbrough, and Fried. Um, Obviously, Fried is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Rodon is up there and has had a good year. Yarbrough, more of a journeyman, but's actually pitched well for the Yankees for the most part. So it'll be very interesting to see in about 24 hours when the Red Sox lineup comes out if Marcelo Mayer is in it and if Roman Anthony is in it.
My,
And
my guess is they each start one of those games,
yeah,
and
I would guess so too.
probably not the same one.
And Alex Cora was a little exasperated answering a question about this yesterday. We
From
had
you?
it, no for once.
Well, that would have explained that.
But he talked about it Tuesday. He talked about it on the radio. Alex Spear asked for some clarification yesterday, and Cora seems sick of answering the same question. And his point is this, and like again, we talked about this the other day, but the more you look at the numbers, he would be actually doing the team a disservice if he sat Romy Gonzalez or Rob Refsnyder against a left-handed starting pitcher. I mean, they both have OPS
Really,
in
the
like
quality of Fried or Rodon.
yeah, they both have an OPS in the 900s. I think like, closer to 950 or 1,000 with, their at bats against lefties this year. They did it last year. That was something Romy Gonzalez did really well. Ref Snyder's done it, for a long time. They are, platoon players who are really, really good against lefties. The Red Sox had a guy who did that in 2018 who won the World Series MVP in Steve Pearce. These are valuable guys. Um, and on weekends like this, they're going to probably play a lot. So,
Here's the thing that fans need to remember. When they start playing Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony every day, regardless of who's pitching, it's not good. Because you know why that'll happen? They're out of the race.
Yeah,
Because then you can focus 100% on development.
right,
You can have those guys in there to take their lumps, learn how to hit lefties at the big league level, and experience plenty of failure while they get there. And you don't want that happening while you are still trying to win games and get your head back over 500 again.
right.
He's doing this to win games because as counterintuitive as it may seem, Romy Gonzalez gives you a better chance to come through and thus win than does Marcelo Mayer. And the same can be said about Rob Refsnyder and Roman Anthony. That doesn't mean that they're better players or that both of those kids are not going to be really good players eventually and probably in the not too distant future. But right now, when you are trying to win games and remain relevant and stay in the playoff race, you are better off with the veterans who have high platoon splits against left-handers rather than feeding these kids to the lions and going down in flames.
Yeah, and not to say it's a guarantee that's going to happen, but again, we talked about it. Whatever the number is, whether it's a 10% chance or a 15% chance of a better outcome, when you have Romy hitting over, Anthony or Meyer or Refsnyder, that's what they look at, and that's how, these games are often won or lost. And so, I think there are different ways. Ref Snyder's obviously going to play an outfield spot, and so you could take Duran out of the lineup. He's got like a 640, 650 OPS against lefties so far this year, maybe even worse. I might be conflating another number. Maybe you take him out and you put Ref Snyder in left for the day, and that's the day Anthony, gets to play. The other thing is that, Romy's going to play first, obviously, against these lefties. Abraham Toro has been playing third. That's been the alignment. It's inexplicable still, but do you take him out of the lineup, a right-handed bat, a switch hitter who's hit lefties pretty well and has, now your three hitter who's been really good offensively? Maybe you do that for a day to get him a breather, and Meyer gets a day there. But it's just like, you're going to make some sacrifice somewhere. I agree with you. I think both sit two of the games and maybe you see Duran down for a day, get creative. But this will be interesting to watch, and they also want to pick their spots for those, late game matchups against, relievers. I know the Yankees bullpen is banged up right now, but when a good righty reliever comes in, Ref Snyder's coming up, to have Anthony and Meyer off the bench is a pretty good option.
Yep.
And they want to do that in a way where, those guys are not bunched up with Devers and Duran at the top, trying to separate them, get them a little lower. And that's when, guys in the middle like Ref Snyder and Romy will come in this weekend.
And we're going to hear that the splits at AAA demonstrate that Meyer and Anthony can hit lefties. And that's very, very true in the International League.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing anymore in the International League. And the pitching is far better at the big league level than it is at AAA.
Right.
Those numbers can be thrown out with the bathwater because they don't mean anything now. You are facing an entirely different level of competition. And the fact that you got some 91 mile an hour lefty coming out of the bullpen or starting at AAA, it was okay for Roman Anthony and Marcelo Mayer to get their reps and get their at-bats against those lefties. Max Fried is a different level. Carlos Rodon is a different level. These guys are not fooling around. They're not learning. They are dominant all-star level players and pitchers, and it's not the same. And those numbers don't automatically transfer and come with you when you make that step from AAA to the big leagues.
Right, and that's something Cora's been big on. It's going to be tough decisions. Fans are not going to like it, but you're not going to see those guys starting all 3 days over the weekend. A couple more things we're going to get to here on what should be a shorter Fenway rundown. We'll see. How much, Sean, do you care about all this Hunter Dobbins stuff?
I mean, I feel bad for the kid. Not a kid; he's a young man. It seems, with what we know, that his father, let's be polite here, embellished his baseball career by a significant amount. I mean, he lied, from all we can tell and all the evidence in front of us, about playing an affiliated ball. He never did that. He played an indie ball, Okay, that's something. You and I didn't do that. Playing an indie ball is not like Legion ball. It's pro ball, but it's not affiliated ball, and it's not an affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the New York Yankees. And according to Andy Pettit, no, he and Lance Dobbins are not thick as thieves, and he doesn't know him. And the kid got put in a bad spot, to quote his manager. Um,
Hmm.
he's I do feel badly because he's trying to protect his father. He said, "Oh, I didn't go fact check my dad." I get that, but the one criticism I would make is um, don't go into Yankee Stadium for your first start and stir up the pot. And this has nothing to do with, well, my father told me and my father played here and all that. Don't go in saying I hate the Yankees and I always have, and this is why I play and I hate all the Yankees, and you haven't done enough to do that. That's my sole criticism of him. I think the rest of it is the fault of his father, and he got caught in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care if he what he says, um, if he wants to go on the record with that, if he doesn't want to go on the record with that stuff about, wanting to retire instead of playing for the Yankees. It's obviously, good for business for the ESPN broadcast that talked about it incessantly and, riles people up. Yes, he has only been in the majors a couple months, but we want these guys to show more of who they are and how they think. And so, in that way, it's fine. I think my big takeaway is that, who knows how much this translates to being on the mound or, can transfer into competition. This kid's not, and we can call him a kid. He's only been in the majors for a couple months. He is 25, only 3 years younger than me, but, or four, shoot. Um, like he's not afraid, and he's not
Yeah,
afraid
no, I've
of
been
the
impressed
moment.
with
He's
how
not
he handles
afraid of,
himself for
yeah.
the
I
most
mean,
part.
but yesterday he's like, I don't know. What do you want me to say? I don't fact check my dad. It wasn't defiant. It wasn't, he wasn't cowering. He wasn't, afraid of being in this media storm. I don't think he's going to be afraid. He went on foul territory today.
I saw that.
Um, I he's not going to be nervous if,
Yeah, and
you
good
know,
for him. I'm
if
not
the
saying he
Yankees
should be
beat,
cowering in a corner now or apologizing.
yeah,
I think a little of the brashness can be turned down when you haven't done it a lot at the big league level. But that's more of a nuance thing. The thing is, as I said, I think he's kind of the victim here. His dad left him hanging, and now he's got all this attention on him because his dad didn't tell him the truth about his own career. For whatever reason, we'll let a psychiatrist work on that and figure that reason out. But, he did his son a disservice by feeding him this info, and now he's got to answer for it.
yeah, and I think he did a good job answering
Yeah,
for it. And
I don't
I think
disagree.
he closed the book. I haven't seen the foul territory interview yet, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
my guess is the traveling New York media will not have the book closed when they show up on
no,
Friday.
and that's part of it. But you know what? It's a story. It's a 1 day story, not the end of the world. Last thing we'll get to, late night trade. Jorge Alcalá, I believe is how you pronounce it, based on the accent at the end. Get a look into that. Goes from the Twins to the Red Sox. The great Ian Brown texted me last night that this was very, very similar to 2 years ago when they acquired Mauricio Llovera from the Giants, which is such a deep cut. It's unbelievable. Um, this is a guy who has, parts of 7 years in the big leagues. Yes, his ERA this year is
Plates.
yeah, triple eights, not great. Red Sox stats says he's unlucky. We'll see. I mean, they didn't give up much for him.
I mean,
It is
he's
what it
the
is.
eighth guy in the bullpen
Yeah.
for the most part. It's a new arm. It's a power arm who throws hard, as you wrote. Your perfect change of scenery candidate. Maybe Andrew Bailey shows him something with a pitch or a delivery or a tweak, and they get more out of him, and he's more the guy with a low to mid three ERA that he was a few years ago, and that can be helpful if he can miss bats. I don't see it as tipping the scales to the playoff race too much one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, all they did was DFA Brian Van Bell and trade Andy Lugo. Van Bell was a nice story that he got promoted, but once you're on a 40-man roster, these things can happen. Maybe he gets claimed and gets his major league debut elsewhere. Andy Lugo, someone that I had not heard of, 21 years old. I know he had some good moments this year. Not a top 60 prospect by Sox prospects. By all accounts, it's just kind of a take a flyer move. And not just Andrew Bailey, but Justin Willard worked for the Twins before he came
I,
over
I,
here.
I hadn't even thought of that connection. I'm sure that was a factor in the deal.
And so there you go. But like sometimes, relievers come out of nowhere and pitch well. We've seen guys come and out of nowhere and be good. We've seen guys like Yaxel Rios and Mauricio Llovera and some of these other guys have a couple good weeks and then flame out. We've seen guys come up from AAA and be good over the years and then flame out. We've seen it all. It is the nature of 162, as Alex Cora says. You call these guys in, and so Alcalá will be there tomorrow, taking the field after the media game tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. We'll be back with two Fenway rundowns next week. Sean will be on the road on the West Coast, but first up, Red Sox Yankees this weekend. We'll have it all covered on the site.